Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tearing into a fascinating tactical analysis of England ahead of the 2026 World Cup. We're going to look really closely at their highly complex system to answer one burning question: are they truly good enough to win it all? Now, on paper, they have a remarkably well-balanced squad, but as we're about to see, their tactical blueprint reveals a team that could either be an absolute unstoppable juggernaut or a totally fragile glass cannon.
Let's jump right into the agenda. We'll kick things off with their build-up strategy, move on to their attacking juggernaut, then look at their pressing and defensive shapes. After that, we'll expose a fatal transition flaw, and finally, wrap up by asking, are they genuine World Cup contenders?
All right, Section 1, the build-up strategy, maneuvering out of the back. Because let's be real, in modern football, literally everything starts here. What's super interesting here is the massive contrast between theory and reality. Nominally, England sets up in a very standard, familiar 4-2-3-1 formation. But as soon as they get the ball and push forward, it morphs into this wildly aggressive 3-1-6 shape. Essentially, the four attacking players just jam right into the central areas. That leaves just three at the back and one single holding midfielder to keep the balance. It's extreme fluidity right from the very first touch.
To really grasp how they pull off this fluidity, we have to talk about the double pivot. Basically, these are two holding midfielders operating together right in front of the defensive line to coordinate the build-up and provide structural balance. Their coordinated movement is the absolute engine of England's progression. While they build up, these two position themselves diagonally from one another, opening up with perfectly timed moves to give the center backs passing options.
Just watch how this sequence flows out of the back. It's like clockwork. A center back plays it to the goalkeeper. Then the goalkeeper finds one of those holding midfielders we just talked about, and instantly that midfielder lays the ball off with a single one-touch pass back to an advancing center back. It creates these rapid one-touch passing opportunities that just seamlessly move the ball up the pitch.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, on attacking juggernaut, because once Harry Kane drops into deeper areas to link play, they cross into the opposition's half, and this system transforms into an absolute monster. A massive tactical weapon here is the inverted fullback. By definition, this is a wide defender who tactically tucks into central midfield spaces instead of just overlapping down the touchline. So rather than hugging the line, players like O'Reilly leave the wide areas entirely for wingers like Anthony Gordon. The fullback tucks inside into the half spaces, those dangerous channels right between the wing and the center of the pitch. This is brilliant because it drags covering defenders inside with them, and that creates incredibly dangerous one-on-one isolations for the winger out wide to either cut inside and shoot or deliver a killer pass.
But they don't just rely on wide isolations. They boast an incredible depth of deep playmakers. We are talking about guys like Elliot Anderson, Declan Rice, Kobbie Mainoo, and Jordan Henderson. Having this kind of depth in holding midfielders means they have multiple players who can play lethal, penetrative passes from way deeper positions, perfectly exploiting the runs of their speedy wingers getting in behind the defense.
So the crucial point here is how these players interact to form a highly dynamic midfield triangle, where each point has a very distinct job. First, the holding player manages that crucial first pass and disrupts the opposition. Then you have the central player like Mainoo, who provides relentless mobility. He's dropping deep or he's making really aggressive runs right beyond the defensive line. And meanwhile, the attacking players like Jude Bellingham or Morgan Rogers are operating between the lines, receiving the ball, and directly attacking the box. Honestly, it is a total nightmare to defend against.
Now, when the opposition fails to put them under pressure, this fluidity hits extreme levels. They will occasionally push up into a staggering 3-0-7 attacking structure. Yeah, you heard that right. 0 in the middle and 7 up top. It literally sounds like a glitch in a video game. But for England, it's an overwhelming offensive reality.
And hey, it is a beautiful thing to watch when it clicks. But as we pivot our focus, it becomes glaringly obvious that this overwhelming aggression is a massive double-edged sword. Having all of those players push so high up the pitch means dangerous acres of space are left completely open behind them.
Which brings us to Section 3, pressing and defensive shapes. Let's look at how they set up out of possession to try and win that ball back.
Defensively, England is kind of like a team with two faces. On opposition goal kicks, they set up in a traditional, compact 4-4-2 shape, using the center forward to block passing lanes. But the moment the ball moves into the midfield, their mid-block, where they wait near the halfway line, it rapidly transforms. It becomes a hyper-aggressive man-to-man pressing structure where players aggressively step out of line to fiercely pressure the ball carrier.
But every aggressive action has a tactical consequence. For example, when the left back pushes high to press, it leaves a massive void behind him, something Uruguay expertly exploited. When a center back steps out aggressively to press a free man, suddenly England is left defending one-on-one at the back. And if a winger stays way too wide, it allows opponents to switch the play incredibly easily, which is exactly what Japan did to them. It's basically a high-wire act.
And that takes us to Section 4, the fatal transition flaw. This is England's Achilles heel, and it's exactly what happens in those chaotic seconds right after they lose the ball.
When we look at these key vulnerabilities in transition, a pretty scary picture emerges. Seriously, if you're an England fan, this is where your heart drops into your stomach. Because their fullbacks occupy such extremely advanced positions, the flanks become wildly exposed. Add to that a frequent failure to track runners. Like, remember when Jed Spence was caught attacking the ball carrier instead of his runner? That led to a massive chance. Plus, there are huge distances between the center backs, and the defensive line really struggles to control depth and narrow the space quickly enough to recover.
So, Section 5, World Cup contenders. Having decoded this highly complex system, these brilliant, overwhelming attacks juxtaposed with gaping defensive holes, we have to evaluate where they actually stand.
It all comes down to this million-dollar question. Does this incredible attacking versatility outweigh the fatal defensive flaws? We really have to ask ourselves, is the sheer, undeniable firepower of this squad enough to mask those massive spaces they leave behind in transition? I mean, can you actually win a World Cup if you're constantly giving up one-on-one counterattacks?
Well, the analysis suggests they might just be able to pull it off. They have a highly balanced squad with deep positional versatility. That versatility is their superpower. Players like O'Reilly acting as additional forwards from defense give them this crazy X factor. It gives them the ability to dictate the game through fluid, aggressive overloads, basically forcing the opposition into a constant state of panic.
So, they truly look like genuine contenders. But those defensive transition issues are real, and against the very best in the world, they could absolutely be fatal. So, looking closely at this tactical blueprint we've just unpacked together, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. Knowing their aggressive strengths and their transition weaknesses, exactly how far do you think this juggernaut can go in 2026? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep analyzing the beautiful game.